Have you ever felt trapped in a conversation with someone who drains your energy? The kind of person who, even after they leave, their words and negativity linger in your mind, making you replay the encounter repeatedly. Maybe it's a coworker who constantly complains, a friend who turns every situation into a competition, or even a family member who manipulates and guilts you into doing what they want. The worst part, no matter how much you try to reason with them, they don't change. They continue their toxic behavior, leaving you emotionally exhausted and frustrated. Toxic people can rob us of our peace, but only if we let them. And that's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics lived in a world filled with conflict, betrayal, and manipulation. Yet they remained unshaken. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by scheming politicians trying to undermine him. Seneca faced jealousy and exile. Epictetus started his life as a slave, enduring cruelty at the hands of his master. But none of them allowed toxic individuals to dictate their inner state. Instead, they mastered the art of emotional resilience, knowing that the only true power lies in controlling one's mind. So how do we apply this wisdom in today's world? How do we deal with toxic co-workers, manipulative friends, or emotionally draining relationships without letting them consume us? The answer isn't to fight back, argue, or try to fix them. It's to change how we respond. In this video, we will break down 11 Stoic strategies that will help you handle toxic people with clarity, strength, and inner peace. These aren't just theoretical ideas. They're practical tools you can use daily to stop letting negativity control you. Because in the end, you can't always choose who you encounter, but you can always choose how much power they have over you. Let's begin. 1. Practice emotional detachment. Toxic people have a way of getting under your skin. They know exactly what to say to trigger a reaction, whether it's a snide remark, passive-aggressive behavior, or outright manipulation. Before you even realize it, you're angry, frustrated, or doubting yourself. That's the real danger of toxic individuals, not just their words or actions, but how easily they can pull you into an emotional storm. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, faced this daily. As emperor, he was constantly criticized, slandered, and betrayed by those around him. Senators plotted against him, generals questioned his leadership, and people who once praised him turned their backs the moment it suited them. But did he lash out? Did he try to argue with every critic? No. Instead, he reminded himself of a simple truth. Other people's words are just noise unless he allows them to have meaning. He wrote in Meditations, "If someone speaks badly of you, do not defend yourself. Simply live in a way that disproves their words." This is the essence of emotional detachment. When someone tries to provoke you, they're looking for a reaction. They want you to engage, to argue, to feel hurt or offended. And the moment you give them that reaction, they win. But what happens when you don't respond? When their insults or manipulation don't affect you, they lose their power over you. Think about the last time someone insulted you. Did it ruin your day? Did you replay the words in your head, trying to think of a perfect comeback? Now imagine if, instead, you treated their words like a gust of wind, noticed, but ultimately meaningless. You can't control what toxic people say or do, but you can control how much space you give them in your mind. Instead of getting caught up in their negativity, shift your focus inward. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? More often than not, the answer is no. True strength isn't about fighting every battle, it's about choosing which ones deserve your energy. 2. Focus on what you can control. Toxic people have a way of making us feel powerless. They manipulate, deceive, frustrate, and drain us, sometimes without us even realizing it. You try to reason with them, but they twist your words. You try to be kind, but they take advantage of it. You try to set boundaries, but they ignore them. The more effort you put into changing them, the more exhausted you become. And yet no matter what you do, they remain the same. This is where most people get stuck. They believe if they argue enough, explain, or care enough, they can somehow fix toxic people. But the truth is, you can't control them. You can't force someone to be kind, honest, or self-aware. You can only control one thing: yourself. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, was born a slave. He had no control over his circumstances. His master could beat him, command him, and limit his freedom. Yet Epictetus understood something most people never do. His mind was his own. No matter what happened externally, he refused to let anyone control his inner world. He famously said, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not." That's the mindset shift Stoicism teaches. When dealing with toxic people, the more you try to change them, the more frustrated you'll become. But the moment you accept that their actions, words, and mindset are outside of your control, you free yourself. Instead of trying to control them, focus on controlling yourself, your responses, your emotions, and your boundaries. Ask yourself, what's within my power here? You can't control if someone gossips about you, but you can control whether you engage with it. You can't control if someone disrespects you, but you can control how you respond. You can't control how others behave, but you can always control whether you give them space in your mind. Toxic people thrive when they pull you into their chaos. But if you shift your focus inward, if you become unshakable, they lose their grip on you. That's real power, the power to walk away, to remain calm, to be unaffected by their negativity. And once you master that, you stop wasting energy on things beyond your control and start investing in what truly matters: your peace. 3. Set clear boundaries. Toxic people thrive on testing limits. They push, manipulate, guilt-trip, and overstep, seeing how far they can go before you push back. It starts small: a dismissive comment, a demand disguised as a request, an expectation that you'll always be available. At first, you let it slide. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. But over time, the small violations turn into patterns, and before you know it, your time, energy, and mental peace are no longer your own. This is why boundaries are essential. Without them, toxic people will take as much as you allow. They don't stop unless they're forced to. But many struggle with setting boundaries because they fear seeming selfish, rude, or unkind. The truth is, setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your well-being. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood the importance of surrounding oneself with the right people. He wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you can improve." This means being mindful of who you allow into your life. If someone constantly brings negativity, manipulates, or drains you, it's your responsibility to limit their access to your energy. Think of your mental space as a home. Would you allow someone to walk into your house, track mud all over your floor, break your furniture, and insult you in your living room? Of course not. So why allow toxic people to do the same to your peace of mind? Setting boundaries isn't about being aggressive or confrontational. It's about clarity. If someone always interrupts your time, be direct. "I need space to focus." If someone manipulates you through guilt, hold firm. "I won't be pressured into something that doesn't feel right." If someone disrespects you repeatedly, create distance. "I won't engage in conversations where I'm not treated with respect." The key to effective boundaries is consistency. Toxic people will test you. The moment you hesitate or make exceptions, they'll exploit that opening. But when you remain firm, something interesting happens. They either adjust to your boundaries or they fade from your life. Either way, you win. Your peace of mind is not up for negotiation. Stoicism teaches that you must take responsibility for your inner world. And that means deciding who gets access to your energy and who doesn't. A strong person isn't someone who tolerates endless mistreatment. A strong person is someone who knows when to say, enough. 4. Embrace negative visualization. The Stoics had a practice that might initially seem unusual, negative visualization. Instead of hoping for the best, they actively imagined the worst. Not because they were pessimists, but because they understood a simple truth. They lose their power over you when you prepare for hardships in advance. Now, think about the toxic people in your life. Maybe it's a co-worker who constantly undermines you, a relative who always makes snide remarks, or a so-called friend who twists your words. Every time you interact with them, it feels like an ambush. You leave feeling frustrated, blindsided, and emotionally drained. But what if you expected their behavior instead of being shocked by it? Imagine walking into work already knowing that your coworker will try to take credit for your ideas. Instead of feeling hurt or angry, you simply nod because you saw it coming. You don't react emotionally. You don't waste energy on outrage. You have already decided how to handle it. Perhaps you document your work in advance or calmly assert your contributions. Either way, you're in control, not them. Seneca once wrote, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." He wasn't just talking about death in a literal sense. He was warning against the fear of hardship, of disappointment, of betrayal. When you fear toxic behavior, it has power over you. But when you anticipate it, it loses its sting. Negative visualization allows you to detach. Instead of taking things personally, you see patterns. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with clarity. A toxic person can only control you if they can manipulate your emotions. But what if they couldn't? What if their insults, games, and manipulations landed on deaf ears? Try this. The next time you have to deal with a toxic person, pause beforehand. Imagine their worst behavior. Prepare yourself mentally. Then, when it happens, you'll meet it with quiet confidence. No anger, no frustration, just the calm assurance that they can't shake you. Because a Stoic expects storms and learns to walk through them undisturbed. 5. Practice compassion. When dealing with toxic people, the natural reaction is frustration, anger, or even resentment. But what if you shifted your perspective? Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you recognized them as people struggling with their battles. Most toxic behaviors, arrogance, manipulation, and cruelty don't come from strength. They come from pain, insecurity, or fear. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood this deeply. Every morning he reminded himself, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." But he didn't say this to justify his frustration. He said it to prepare himself, to meet their behavior with patience rather than irritation. He knew that just because someone acts cruelly doesn't mean you have to become cruel in return. Think about a time when someone's words cut you deeply. Maybe a co-worker belittled your efforts, or a friend dismissed your struggles. In that moment, your instinct may have been to react, to push back, defend yourself, or even retaliate. But what if you had paused and considered why they acted that way? Maybe they were projecting their insecurities. Maybe they were battling problems you couldn't see. Maybe their harshness had nothing to do with you at all. This doesn't mean you have to accept mistreatment. Stoicism isn't about being passive, it's about being wise. You don't have to absorb someone's negativity, but you also don't have to become bitter because of it. Instead, recognize their actions for what they are, a reflection of their struggles. not your worth. Compassion doesn't mean allowing toxic people to walk all over you. It means seeing their behavior for what it is, misguided, often unconscious pain. And when you recognize this, you gain power over the situation. You become immune to their insults, indifferent to their provocations. You choose your response instead of letting their negativity dictate it. So the next time someone acts in a way that tempts you to react, pause. Ask yourself, is this really about me? More often than not, the answer will be no. And in that moment of understanding, you free yourself from their control. 6. Avoid engagement in drama. Toxic people thrive on chaos. They stir up drama, provoke reactions, and feed off emotional responses. They want you to argue, to defend yourself, to get dragged into their negativity, and the more you engage, the more they win. But what if you simply refuse to play the game? Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, understood the power of stepping back. He believed that many conflicts aren't worth engaging in, not because they're unwinnable, but because they're unnecessary. You always have the option of having no opinion, he wrote. This wasn't about indifference, but about wisdom. Not every argument needs your energy. Not every insult deserves a response. Imagine a situation where a co-worker or acquaintance constantly tries to pull you into pointless disputes. Maybe they gossip, complain, or provoke you with passive-aggressive comments. You feel the urge to respond, to set the record straight, to defend yourself. But before you do, ask yourself, what do I gain from this? Will winning the argument bring you peace? Or will it only pull you deeper into their negativity? Think of Marcus Aurelius, who faced endless political scheming and personal attacks as emperor. He could have fought back against every insult, every rumor, but instead he remained focused on what truly mattered: his actions, his integrity, his inner peace. He knew that engaging in every battle would only exhaust him. Toxic people want your reaction because your reaction gives them power. The solution? Starve them of that power. Instead of reacting emotionally, respond with silence, indifference, or a simple nod. Walk away if necessary. Let them waste their energy while you conserve yours. This doesn't mean you should let people mistreat you. It means you should choose your battles wisely. Engaging in drama rarely leads to resolution. It leads to more drama. So the next time someone tries to pull you in, remember, you always have the option of stepping away. And in doing so, you protect your peace. 7. Cultivate inner fortitude. Toxic people only have as much power over you as you allow them to have. They feed on emotional reactions, insecurity, on weakness, but a mind fortified by resilience is like a stone in a storm, unmoved, unshaken, untouched. Cato the Younger was a living embodiment of inner fortitude. In a Rome filled with corruption, bribery, and deceit, he remained steadfast. He refused to be bought, refused to compromise his values, and refused to let external pressures shape his decisions. His enemies mocked him, tried to break him, and even threatened him, but Cato remained indifferent. He knew that their power ended where his self-control began. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from within. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is, wrote Seneca. This means that no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can truly harm you, unless you let it. Toxic people try to shake your confidence, but they can only succeed if there is already doubt within you. They try to stir up anger, but they can only succeed if you are not in control of your emotions. Imagine a toxic colleague, a bitter relative, or a manipulative friend. They criticize you, test your patience, and try to undermine you. Most people react. They argue, they defend themselves, they become frustrated. But what if instead you simply remained steady? What if you let their words pass through you like wind through an open window? Building inner fortitude doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to be controlled by it. It means training your mind daily and strengthening your ability to remain calm in the face of negativity. It means practicing self-discipline, refusing to be baited into pointless conflicts, and maintaining a mindset of quiet strength. When you cultivate this kind of resilience, toxic people lose their hold over you. They become powerless, because no matter what they say or do, you stand firm, unshaken, unbreakable, free. 8. Practice mindfulness. Toxic people thrive on triggering reactions. They push buttons, test patience, and manipulate emotions. The problem is that most reactions are impulsive, driven by frustration, anger, or defensiveness. But what if, instead of reacting, you simply observed? What if, in the moment they tried to provoke you, you remained completely in control? Marcus Aurelius knew the power of a still mind. As emperor, he faced endless demands, betrayals, and conflicts. Yet, he took time each morning and evening to reflect, to center himself, to clear his thoughts. This daily practice of mindfulness helped him avoid knee-jerk reactions. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the core of Stoic mindfulness, choosing how you respond instead of being controlled by external forces. Imagine a co-worker constantly undermining you, or a friend who always turns conversations into competition. The instinct is to argue, prove a point, or push back. But mindfulness teaches us to pause, to become aware of our emotions before they take control. The moment you notice frustration creeping in, take a breath, observe the situation, and decide on the most rational response. This small pause is the difference between being manipulated and remaining in control. Mindfulness is not about suppressing emotions, it's about understanding them. When a toxic person speaks, their words don't have inherent power. It's your mind that assigns meaning to them. By practicing awareness, you break the cycle of automatic reactions. You recognize the frustration rising, acknowledge it, and then let it pass, choosing your response instead of being a slave to it. In the end, toxic people lose their power over those who remain present. They feed on chaos, but mindfulness is the antidote. It allows you to see their tactics for what they are, attempts to disturb your peace. And when you master the art of being fully aware in every moment, you realize that no one can pull you into their negativity without your permission. 9. Seek solitude. Toxic people create noise, not just in conversations, but in your mind. Their negativity lingers, replaying in your thoughts long after they've left. It's easy to get caught in their web of drama, but the Stoics understood that the best way to regain clarity is through solitude. Stepping away from chaos isn't avoidance, it's self-preservation. Seneca, surrounded by political corruption and power struggles, often sought solitude to reset his mind. He knew that the world outside was chaotic, full of people who thrived on conflict. Instead of allowing himself to be consumed by their games, he would retreat into deep reflection, writing, and silence. He believed that no place was more peaceful than the sanctuary of one's mind, stating, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." Imagine dealing with a toxic friend, colleague, or family member who constantly drains your energy. Their presence is exhausting, their words filled with negativity, and their actions designed to provoke a reaction. The more you engage, the more tangled you become in their drama. But instead of fighting or arguing, what if you simply stepped away? What if you took time to be alone, to let your mind breathe, to separate their chaos from your peace? Seeking solitude isn't about isolation, It's about recalibrating. When you're alone, you're free from external influences, free to think clearly, free to remind yourself of what truly matters. Toxic people lose their grip on you when you give yourself space to reflect. In that silence, you can see their behavior for what it is, an external force that has no power unless you permit it. Distance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When someone drains your energy, step back, take a walk, spend time in nature, and sit in silence. Give yourself the gift of solitude, and you'll return stronger, calmer, and untouched by their negativity, because the mind, when left undisturbed, finds its way back to peace. 10. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness feels like a paradox. Why should you let go of what someone did to you? Why should you allow them to walk away without consequences? But here's the truth. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about refusing to let their actions live rent-free in your mind, stealing your peace long after the moment has passed. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, faced constant betrayal. People conspired against him, slandered him, and sought to bring him down. He had the power to retaliate, to punish those who wronged him, yet he often chose not to. He understood something most people don't. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. He reminded himself, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, true power is in rising above, not sinking to their level. Imagine carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. Every time you think about that toxic person who wronged you, the stone gets heavier. You're the one carrying it, struggling under its weight, while they go on with their life, unaffected. Forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's about deciding you won't carry that weight anymore. You're putting the stone down. This doesn't mean you let toxic people back into your life. It doesn't mean you excuse their behavior. It simply means you're choosing peace over bitterness. A mind filled with resentment is a mind that lacks clarity. Clarity is what Stoicism is all about. Think of it like this. If someone insults you, hurts you, or lies to you, and you continue to replay the moment in your head, they've won. They're controlling your emotions, even in their absence. But the moment you decide to let go, to forgive, not for them, but for yourself, you reclaim your peace. Forgiveness isn't a weakness. It's refusing to let them have power over you. It's choosing to be free. 11. Surround yourself with positivity. The people around you shape your thoughts, your emotions, and even your sense of what's possible. If you surround yourself with negativity, constant complaints, and toxic energy, it's only a matter of time before it seeps into your mind. But the opposite is also true. When you choose to be around those who uplift you, challenge you to grow, and bring out your best, your mindset transforms. Epictetus understood this well. Born into slavery, he had every reason to be bitter, resentful, and surrounded by others who fed into that mindset. But instead, he sought out thinkers, philosophers, and people who elevated his understanding of the world. He once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you." It wasn't about status or intelligence. It was about the kind of energy people brought into his life. Imagine two people. One spends time with gossipers, complainers, and those who see problems in everything. The other surrounds themselves with people who focus on solutions, personal growth, and meaningful conversations. Who do you think will develop a stronger, more resilient mind? Who will be better equipped to deal with the challenges of life? Negativity is contagious, but so is positivity. If you're constantly around people who see the worst in every situation, you'll start doing the same. If you're around people who focus on personal development, on wisdom, on action rather than complaints, that mindset will naturally become your own. This doesn't mean cutting people off completely. Sometimes toxic people are family, colleagues, or old friends. But it does mean being intentional about where you invest your energy. You can't control others, but you can control who influences you the most. Choose wisely. Your peace is valuable. Your time is valuable. Surround yourself with people who remind you of that. Toxic people are an unavoidable part of life. They exist in workplaces, families, friendships, and even within our thoughts, if we let them. But while you can't always control their presence, you can control how much power they have over you. Stoicism teaches that peace isn't found in avoiding external chaos. It's found in mastering your internal response to it. Think of a storm at sea. The waves crash violently, the wind howls, and the sky darkens. But beneath the surface, deep in the ocean, everything remains calm. That's the mindset of a true Stoic. No matter how loud, manipulative, or draining a toxic person may be, your mind, if trained properly, remains steady and unshaken. Marcus Aurelius, who dealt with betrayal, backstabbing, and relentless criticism as emperor, didn't waste time trying to change others. Instead, he reminded himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly, but I will not be harmed by them.'" He accepted the existence of difficult people without letting them disrupt his inner state. So when you encounter toxicity, whether in a colleague who undermines you, a friend who drains your energy, or a stranger who spreads negativity, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. You don't have to engage, react, or absorb their energy. You can observe, detach, and move forward. The wisest thing you can do is protect your peace, not by running from conflict, but by mastering your response to it. Toxic people only have as much power as you give them. Take that power back.